and then that one. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. So there was an OBS update. So I think I figured out all of the weird new quirks that it's going to do. But if there is something screwy, let me know. Hopefully you'll be able to get some good rest soon. Hopefully. We got this next weekend coming up, and hopefully, I'll be able to get some good rest then. Although, we are kind of planning to go to the Renaissance Fair. So, Renaissance Fair, and then Sunday, I'm going to go see a movie with my sister. She's gonna come down, and, yeah. So, today what we have to do is we are going to be working on our, this is a grill tongs. Yes, our grill tongs. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take a look at the center punch that we put in the very beginning of this process. And then we're going to flatten this section here so that it creates a nice hinge. These are going to be made very similarly to how a lot of people will make spring swage. And so that's the goal here. We're going to flatten this out and kind of round it out to make a lovely hinge for it. We're also going to be doing some twisting on the handle material. So that is what I'm planning on getting done today. The other thing that I am planning on doing today, evening sandwich, is that we're probably going to have a short stream today because I'm kind of tired and my brain is clearly lagging a little bit behind. So we are going to finish off these tongs and make sure that they function, clicky, clicky. And then from there, I will probably end the stream. So it might be a little bit of a shorter stream today. Just brains, I had every intention of streaming on Monday, but everything just came crashing down on me, and I just could not make it happen. So I apologize for that. I really wanted to, but I was running on adrenaline all weekend, and everything came crashing down in the end. So, I'm mostly all right today. So hopefully, hopefully that's not too bad. Let's turn on the fan. Sometimes the brain just stutters. It definitely does. But when I'm tired, it stutters a little bit further or more frequently. Than other times, I kind of feel like I have about a sentence and a half to 2 sentences before I feel the need to pause and buffer my brain. I've been trying very, very hard to train myself not to fill those spaces. They are incredibly easy spaces to add the words and like, and I've been trying really hard not to do that. So hopefully I'm doing a little bit better than I was when I first started. So, let's see. It looks like we're getting an ad in about a minute. No worries, your health and well-being come first. Well, I appreciate that sentiment. And it very well should be. Your health and wellness, you only have one body and, mental acuity. And once it's gone, there's only so much you can do. So, once this ad is done, I will turn on the forge and we'll start heating up this set of tongs. So, let me look around here real fast. I changed the sign, that's on, this light's on, that's lights on, that light's on. Okay, the garage door is open. I have both of my cameras functional. You guys can hear me. I think I managed to make it work. It's always a little bit more work setting up the stream when I have been in a different location, because I kind of have to put everything back where it goes and make sure that everything is functional and works properly. I lucked out and we didn't actually have to use any of the cameras, so all of the settings are our normal settings and I don't have to like change anything or make things work. Makes things a lot easier when I have to reset up. Yeah. Let's see. Like I said, I will start up the forge and we are going to be using the mailbox today. We will probably have to change from the mailbox to the big forge at some point today because once I bend this in half, kind of create a U shape, this will no longer fit in the mailbox. So we might have to, if we still have to do any rejiggering on the end of this guy for that fold to make sure that it functions, we might have to put on the big forge. Which means I needed another can of propane, so that's good. I bought that today. I actually remembered for once in my life. Hello. Not Chubby. Is that, did I get that right? I probably didn't. That sounds like I probably butchered that name. Different people have different fillings. One colleague always says let's say, uses let's say as a let's say filler for brain gaps. That can be, let's say, a bit exhausting. When you, let's say, start talking or taking score, let's say, he often says that. Wow, that would be relatively annoying after a while. Here in the United States, the word is probably the most frequent filler word, and that I find anyway. And then the other word that oftentimes gets used as filler is the word like. That was more like of a, see, I said it. That was more of an 80s and 90s filler because it was very Valley Girl to add like as a filler. We met at Quad State. I was showing you a picture of my candlestick. Oh, awesome. That was an absolutely beautiful candlestick. So welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. It was fun meeting you guys. I had so much fun at Quad State. All right, I am going to start my forge. Yes, and then after that, we can talk a little bit about Quad State and what's, the state of our stream and what's gonna happen in the next few weeks. So let me do that real fast. So yeah, I met so many people at Quad State. Some of them we had met in the past and a lot of them were new. New friends. I love making new friends. It's one of my favorite things to do. Alright. So like I said, we are using the mailbox, which is my smaller forge, just because it gets things a little bit hotter, a little bit quicker. So let's stick this guy in there. And I'll move this guy over here. That way I can reach it a little better. So yeah. Is probably very international. Different spellings, of course. So it would be Interesting. So yeah, I met so many people at Quad State. I had such a blast. Although, like I said earlier, I kind of feel like I was running on adrenaline most of the time. I didn't even get to see half of what was around. I mean, the amount of shopping I was able to do was absolutely minuscule. I got to talk to so many different people and do all kinds of interviews, but I didn't get to do any shopping, so I was a little bit disappointed with that. More like a hem. So I have enough footage to make probably 6 or 7 videos, and those will all be going up throughout the next few weeks up on my YouTube. Today's video that was released today was our nail making video, and I thought it was really apt because on Friday night there was a nail making competition with the under 16 blacksmiths there, so it was really interesting, and we were able to watch that, and all of the boys were and the girls were amazing. We had a few female blacksmiths at the conference, and it was, you know, there aren't very many of us around, but I love when I meet new people. So like I said, I have about enough footage for about 6 different videos on different topics. Most of them are actively, like, directly involving the conference itself. A couple of them are like reviews of the van and like my van tour. But the plan is to release them every other week. So we'll do one quad state video, and then one video from the stream, and then another quad state video. So it'll probably take us a couple months to get through all of them. So like I said, today's video is our nail making video, and then next week's video, so a week from today, it will be the overview video where I was able to, I kind of asked everybody as I was going around the conference and the gathering what quad state meant to them, and I also got a little bit of history of quad state. So that's going to be the overview video about quad state. So I'm pretty excited. I'm almost done putting together like the text, or I guess the interview and the vocals of that. And so I got to put a whole bunch of B-roll in there, and then I got to label people. And then I'll be done with that one. The mailbox's roar seems louder than normal, and it is more independent from where you move. Do you have the camera's mic mixed into the stream? As far as I'm aware, I don't. You know what? You know what? I knew there was something I forgot. Give me 1 second. Today is October 1st, 2025, and we're streaming blacksmithing. I forgot to start recording, and I forgot to turn on the sound or the noise cancellation. So it should be a little bit easier for you guys to hear me now. Hopefully. Did that help any? I'm a little scuffy today. Like I said, I'm just still a little bit tired. Yep, better, thanks. Awesome. Well, I am very glad that that we were able to come up with that together. Man, like I said, I'm a little discombobulated coming back. Earlier, before I hit the stream, before I started the stream, I actually knocked my water over, so there's a whole bunch of water on the floor over there. And I don't know, it's gonna just evaporate eventually. Wow. Like I said, we're gonna finish our tongs, and then I'll probably end the stream, so I'll get a little bit of rest as we go. So yeah, I'm super excited to bring to you guys the videos and all of the interviews and stuff that I experienced at Quad State. And I loved streaming from the show floor and bringing all of that to you guys. We didn't even get to half of the things, I felt like. There was just so many tailgaters and so many more demonstrators that I just wasn't able to get to during the hour and a half that we were streaming. So I've got a few more things to show you guys, and but I definitely feel like I need to go a little bit earlier next year, if we're able to make it to Quad State. It's such a big gathering. Maybe you should consider to make it, let's say, a just talking stream to avoid, let's say, injury. If I'm gonna follow my 3 strikes and you're out rule, and so if I screw up or if I, make any more mistakes, I guess if we're gonna count my tipping the water bottle over, I'll give myself two more strikes before I go into the house. I'm not going to count the microphone as a mistake for my rule, because oftentimes I do leave a little bit of scuff into the stream. So, and that's not really amazingly dangerous. So we'll give me 2 more strikes. Welcome to the stream, Ping. Welcome. Let's put this guy over here. Alright. But yeah, I appreciate the concern. Alright, let's see. I'm going to pull out the stock. Well, first I'm going to turn on the record function on the camera. And I'm going to change the camera. So I'm going to take the material out of the forge, and we're going to see how much more heat we need. I think we'll be all right, it looks like. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look for that center punch mark. I think it's right there. So we're going to come over here to the anvil, or to the horn of the anvil. And the plan is to continue thinning out this area so it's nice and thin and we can just round it out. I want to keep this as straight as possible for as long as possible so that I don't have to worry about not having the ability to fit it in our forge. So let me kind of take a look. We need to move our section just a little bit further this way. Can the chat issue mulligans? Be back after my meeting. Well, I hope you have a good meeting. I don't know. Can the chat issue mulligans? Maybe. It depends on what the mulligan is. Vote yes. Oh, are you guys taking a vote to see if, or like what counts as a strike today? I suppose that's fair. Mulligan for the water. Oh, okay. Really, it's because I have too much crap on my table over there. And so when I moved to grab my apron, it just fell over because I have this habit of like clipping my hips on like the anvil and door jambs and things like that, and that's what happened with the water. I am a bruise magnet like that. Deeple translates mulligan with mulligan, not helpful. Will you do my homework? I don't know. What kind of homework is it? I've always been told that I'm not supposed to do people's homework for them. that I can help people, but I can't do their homework. But I'm only good at certain things. So you'd have to tell me what homework you have, and as opposed to, I just tell you that I can help, because maybe I'm terrible at whatever your homework is. I don't know. I was just playing around. Well, okay, so I went to a junior college, which is basically, it's like a 2-year technical school, and it was kind of like designed for me to kind of decide what I wanted to do for a job. And I did that before I went to art school, and it kind of helped me decide that I wanted to go to art school. Anyway, I was dating a guy at that school, and he decided that he wanted to take a small business management course online. So it wasn't like an in-person class or anything like that. And he didn't understand it. And so somehow he convinced me to help him with his class. And in the end, I ended up taking it for him. So I got a B, and he got it on his, or credit for it on his transcript. So after that, I was no longer allowed to help people, at least in that way. I can only give you a little bit of help. I can't do it for you. Google says mulligan is either a free try in golfing or straw. Yeah, mulligan is often used in golf or in Magic the Gathering, which is like a trading card game, and it means getting a do-over. I'm not entirely sure where that term came from, but it's a do-over. You get to start without, taking your extra hit from your club. All right, let's do another heat. I believe I said that I needed to move our fitting over this direction. And I think that's right. All right, not bad. We're getting a little bit of fitting there. So we're going to continue working on that. Once we get this adequately thinned, we're going to twist these handles, or I guess the two sides of it. I kind of want to keep this in the center for the moment. There's a part of me that wonders if I should offset it to one side or the other. But I think I want to center it. I think that'll give me the most room. I need to have enough space because what I want to do is I want to take the thin area and I want to make a rounded area, right? So like when we do the curly tails on the end of our other pieces, so that thin spot is going to turn into a circle very similar to this. But I need to have enough space that we can actually click together the two handles. We kind of have like a little round area at the back, and then we're going to have two of these guys. So it's gonna kind of click like this. If I were to take two of our pieces, it'd kind of be like, like this. So clicky, clicky. Or at least that's the plan. I kind of have it drawn out a little bit here. But I don't know if I need this little round area to be in the center or on the edge. We shall see. Thanks. Never heard that word before. And obviously, Deeple didn't either. I'm probably. Yankee is raiding with a party of 48. Oh my goodness. Hello. Hey, Yankee. Hey, Bungalow. The clicky clicky adds a little extra flavor to the grilling. It does, man. You can't have grill tongs without clicky clickying them. It's a ritual. It's good luck. I totally lost my activity feed. Let me pull that up real fast. And then we already got a shout out to Yankee, like a people one. So that is great. Thank you guys so much. Welcome to the stream, guys. This is my first stream back in the shop after going to Quad State, the blacksmith gathering in Ohio. That was in Troy, Ohio. So we are back in the shop. I'm a little bit discombobulated, but it's all right. We seem to be doing all right. So we are continuing to work on our grill tongs. So the design is right here. We've got two like little square pieces right here. Right now we're working on the hinge area. We've already got like our little tong area and our little clicky clickies. But yes, I was just discussing that you can't have grill tongs without clicking them together. It's good luck. You know, that otherwise you'll burn your steak, right? So welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome. Thank you, Bugs, for following. I know it's 15 minutes ago, but I didn't have my activity up. So thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the community. Normally I'm a little bit more articulate, but like I said, I'm just a little bit, I'm still a little bit tired from my trip. I'm only like really, active in blacksmithing for about 4 hours every couple days. And so I was at it for like 8 hours for 2 days straight. So I'm a little bit tired. We took a day off on Monday, but it just wasn't quite enough. We're going to get to it. We're going to get this done. Oh, I haven't talked to you guys yet about what my next project is going to be. So my next project, unless you guys have a different project that you would like to see, is going to be an axe eye punch. A drift. Like this guy, only this one is for hammers. So we're going to make the axe version. And the difference between a hammer eye drift and an axe eye drift is that a hammer eye drift has a hammer has a oval hole, and an axe has a teardrop shaped hole. So we're gonna make another one of these guys so that we can get that teardrop shape. And then from there, we are going to turn this piece of 4140 into a axe. So those are my next two projects that I am planning on doing. The drift is going to be made with this piece of 4140 right here. I'm hoping that I can kind of cut a little chunk off of this and turn this extra little chunk into a hammer, but this side over here we're going to turn into a drift. So that's what I'm planning on doing for the next few days. Or weeks? A couple weeks. All right, let's do another heat. But before I do that, I am going to change my camera angle real fast. Just because I've been doing a little bit of hammering on the horn and I want you guys to be able to see that. Real nice. And kind of close. Although I don't feel, something about, this is not my normal lens, I don't think. It feels a little far away to me. So maybe we stole my lens and I just didn't realize it. I will ask when the butler gets home if I have the correct lens. All right. A new axe head for the Reaper 2.0. Maybe it's going to be another style similar to the one that we did, but the one we did before was a wrapped head, and I kind of failed the forge weld. All right, so I'm trying to keep this nice and centered. That's still a little bit thick. I just don't think that it's gonna be an adequate hinge, so I want to thin that out a little bit further. I also want to make it just a hair longer. I need enough space that we're gonna be able to get a nice round hinge. All right. There is no failure in trying. Exactly. You learn so much from failure, especially in, if you fail spectacularly, you at least know what not to do, right? An X-ray drift or an XI drift is for something or someone with a strong strabisms. I don't know that I'm familiar with that word. So we will be doing and we have an ad coming up here in about 3 minutes. And I try not to do any heats while there are ads going on. So I will try and make sure that this is hot enough that maybe we can do one more heat before that ad starts. But if it's not hot in time, we'll wait until that ad is done. Need to pull this out just a hair. On Saturday when we were streaming from Quad State, I got to talk to the guys at T-Star Leather, and it reminded me that I need a new apron myself, but I just don't quite have enough money saved up for one of their aprons, so I need to go and grab a new apron, and I keep forgetting to do that. One of these days, I'm gonna get an apron that doesn't have a giant hole in it. If the two eyes do not quite look in the same direction, Deeple gives me to squint, but this seems to be not quite right. To squint. Squinting is kind of like you close your eyes a little bit and you can kind of focus in, and it's kind of, if you're reading or whatever and you don't have your reading glasses, you're squinting to kind of see the words on the page. Sometimes I end up doing that myself, when I'm kind of tired. So that's probably why I'm like really looking in on the monitor to read you guys' questions today. Yeah, this is not what it means. German verb is schleen. If the two eyes shift or drift apart. So is that like cross-eye? That would be if the eyes were looking, crossed in this direction. I don't know that we have a word for if the two eyes were diverging in this direction. Although I'm not sure that I'm capable of doing something like that. All right. So I think, so we've got plenty of heat on the hinge area. But I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna wait until the end of the ad phase. because it doesn't give me a timer as to the exact time when the ad is going to start. I don't want it to start halfway through the heat. So we shall wait just a little bit longer. So yeah. Let's see. What else did I get to do when I was at Quad State? I got to see the Coal Iron Works' new power hammer. We all got to see that because that was on Saturday. They demonstrated it for us. It was so cool. That is their brand new design. It's the C design. It's most of their designs are H's. So it's similar to the press that I have here, but they had the traditional C shape on that power hammer. Probably need a lazy eyes to have both eyes looking peripherally. Yes. That was so fast too. It was super fast. The power hammer, the amount of force in each blow, it was just super fast drawing out that piece of steel. I mean, we had the amount of that we draw out, they were able to do that in one heat. It was crazy. It's a little bit on the expensive side for my budget right now, $17,000. So in the future, you know, when I get rich and famous, I will definitely get a hold of one of those. Thunka, thunka, thunka. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. So yeah, the smallest power hammer that they had on display there at the conference was that H frame, the red H frame, and that one was $7,000. And so that's kind of their budget model, which is super, super cheap for like really heavy production work. But you know, the extra time that you save from being able to use a machine like that as opposed to hand hammering is just incredible. So yeah. All right, we are going to do another heat real fast, and then we can continue talking a little bit. Do I have that in focus? Let me actually like look to make sure it's in focus real fast. Looks a little less in focus than I normally go. There we go. That's a little better. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Raw. Pick this back up again. Like I said a moment ago, I kind of want to make this a little bit longer so we can get a full round area out of that, or a full round hinge. So back in the heat. Afternoon, Lisa Rimlow. Welcome, welcome. So today we are working on a set of grill tongs. I kind of have the design like, you know, scribbled right here. So basically it's like, you know, I've drawn out a set of reins and like little grabbers. And right now we're working on the hinge area. So I want to make it long enough that we're going to be able to create a rounded section that will allow us to, I want it to look similarly to a spring fuller. So it's kind of got a very rounded end to it. It kind of helps it be a little bit more springy. But I need to leave myself enough space that we can twist the handle section because I want all of the pieces of our grill set to be similar in shape and design. And we've got all of these lovely twists, single, or I guess they're a twist and a half on the handles. So we're gonna do that to each side of the tongs. And we want the spring to kind of have a look very similar to these little hook holes that I've created, or I guess pigtails maybe. So that's the goal for today. Must resist the urge to want to learn blacksmithing now. Must give in to the urge to learn blacksmithing. Blacksmithing is an incredibly fun thing to do, but it is oftentimes a lot of work. It takes a lot of stamina to do that hand hammering. It isn't it's relatively cheap, or it can be relatively cheap, but it's one of those things where, you know, you can get started for a little bit of money, but when you really, you know, you can really scale up very quickly as to how much money you're willing to spend on this hobby. We were just talking about, you know, the power hammers that Coal Ironworks are producing at, you know, with the $17,000 price tag. So I mean, it can get really, really expensive. But when I first started, I think I spent 80 bucks. You know, somebody gave me an anvil, and you really don't even need an anvil. You can kind of get started with just a large piece of mild steel. I spent 50 bucks on my first forge, and I built it out of a bucket. You can spend about that much on Amazon. You don't even have to build it yourself. And then, you know, I bought a set of tongs, you know. I will say, if you really want to get started learning to blacksmith, go on to the Abana website. Abana is the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America. They have a find a blacksmith function on their website, and you can type in your zip code or your mailing code, and you can find a blacksmith affiliate all over the world. They have everything in the North America. They also have European and Australian blacksmiths. I'm not sure if they have anything in Asia or South America. So I mean, I guess it might be a little more difficult to find someone in those areas of the world, like the Southern Hemisphere. But if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, the Abana website is beautiful for that, for finding blacksmiths. Yeah, I've got a chainsaw waiting for me, about to wear myself off. I do not want a blacksmith, but I want such a hammer. Yes, the power hammers are amazing. They're so cool. It's one of those giant pieces of machinery that you got to be a little bit careful with, you know, because you could really injure yourself if you're not careful, or if you're running it too cavalier. All right, let's do another heat, and I'm going to change the camera angle again just so that I got a little bit of a variety. That's a little bit too close in my shot. But I'm starting to get to a point where I am going to get back into the center of the anvil again. But it might take me a little bit before I do that. All right, let's change the cameras. I have a piece of railroad track that was my first anvil and $10 sledgehammer head that could also suffice. Exactly. Well, I guess any limb getting under the hammer would be cold forged. It would be cold forged. But yeah, you can get a hold of some really cheap anvil substitutes. All right, so I'm pretty happy with uh, the the length of the handles here. But I think what I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time with the cross peen hammer to give us a little bit of length and to reduce our width some more. Um, and then I think we should be pretty good. We'll be able to twist them, I think. So I always say, or I guess they always say, that if you have something to hit, something to heat, something to hit on, and something to hit with, you got a blacksmithing setup. And a lot of it can be done very, very simply. I know people who began by just using a torch, like a plumber's torch or an oxyacetylene torch to heat their metal. You just got to be able to heat your metal. You got to you got to have metal to heat. You got to have a hammer to hit things with, and you got to have something to hit it on. You really need to be able to do anything by hand before using a power hammer. Exactly. Power hammer makes mistakes happen faster. A power hammer is not always better. Yeah, it's definitely it is. Because you have to learn the rules before you can before you can handle speeding things up. When you are practicing an instrument, you have to slow down your piece a little bit sometimes, and then you can kind of speed things up as you learn the notes. As it becomes muscle memory, it makes it a lot easier to speed it up by using that power hammer. You also need to kind of understand what you're doing. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's similar to AI, but it kind of is similar to AI. You can't really effectively use AI unless you know how the thing you're trying to get the AI to do. You can't really get it or do it effectively unless you understand what you're trying to get it to do. That's what I'm trying to say. I missed this earlier, but Boris the Crocodilian. Boris the Crocodilian, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the stream. Oh, I definitely need to watch how you twist that. I've had an idea for a furniture piece, but I need to be able to twist it just right. More power is more better, though. I understand that. The correct English term is more better. Sometimes, it is for me. That's the correct English term. More better. Hey, Bugs. Hello. How are you? I am amazing. A little bit tired from going to Quad State last weekend, but we're managing. I need to grab some more water from behind the camera, so I will be right back, guys. Bear with me for a moment. It's still actually pretty hot here in the Midwest, right outside of the St. Louis area. I'm within an hour of St. Louis, so we're still a little bit warm. I'm waiting for the fall to really start kicking in. I have to say though, I am blessed that I oftentimes don't hit like freezing temperatures until well into December and sometimes into January. So I love being in this area, but sometimes it can be really hot. How long have I been forging for? So are we talking today or are we talking in general? Today, I think I've been forging for, it looks like, about an hour. Yeah, about an hour for today. And then as far as overall, I started blacksmithing in 2010. I stopped blacksmithing in 2020 because I got really, really sick. And I started back up again last November. So we've been forging again for about 9-ish months. Almost, well, maybe since it's October 1st, it was mid-November last year. So, we're coming up on a year. I guess it's like, 10 or 11 months now. I don't know. Anyway, so I am still a little bit rusty on some of the processes that I don't do often, like forge welding. But I do have a good head knowledge. It's just putting it back into practice and making sure that I remember, my body remembers how to do the things that I need to do. So I have a good amount of practice, but less actual practice, if that makes sense. They predict near freezing temperatures at night here in some places. Ew. I really hate freezing temperatures. I do not deal with cold very well. I can deal with hot so much better than with cold. I just like drink lots of water and stand near the fan when it's hot. And then I just end up sweating through my clothes. I mean, it is what it is. You take a shower when you're done. But I cannot function when it is super cold. I just can't get enough layers on me. I don't have any, insulation because I'm so small. Oh, wow. Uh, Back to Dotzer. Thank you so much for those 200 bits. How long have you been forging? Well, today is the best answer. Thank you so much for those bits, for that support. Thank you. But yeah, it's kind of like, how long have you been forging today? How long have you been forging in general? I mean, they're both valid questions. All right, let's do another heat. I'm a little tired. Cut me some slack. All right. So I said that I was gonna do some of this using the cross peen. I gotta get a better way to like hold this because it's not really doing what I need it to right now. Man, I was talking earlier about a diagonal peen, and I think I need one of those. I'll add it to the list of projects. Okay. So the reason that we are using the cross peen hammer head, or I guess the cross peen head of the hammer, is because the shape of this head, let me put this back in the heat. The shape of this head pushes more material perpendicular to the shape of the head than it does parallel, right? So you get lots of movement this direction and this direction, but less movement this direction. So I like the width of our hinge, but I want to make it longer. I've used a diagonal peen hammer once. It's pretty nice. I absolutely love the concept of a diagonal peen hammer because, see, I usually forge at a 45-degree angle from the face of my anvil because when I first started, I was always told to go parallel, and I always ended up knocking my knuckles on the face of the anvil. So then I decided that we're going to do 45 degrees, right? I stopped knocking my knuckles and it was all right. But, however, when I turn my hammer and start using the cross peen, it makes it a little bit difficult to figure out which direction you're going, So I kind of feel like maybe I need to like hold our tongs parallel to the face of the anvil so that I can hammer this direction. But the broken face of this anvil does not make that easy to get a flat surface. But yeah, I was talking about a diagonal peen hammer to someone on TikTok earlier. I think it was yesterday and then today. Because I was commenting about, I made a short video on the spatula that we made together. And they were talking about how to widen things out. And so they were telling me that maybe I need to like use a diagonal peen hammer. It might make it a little bit easier. And I think they're right in concept. But like I said, I've never used one. It's on my list. I definitely use a straight peen more than a cross peen, but I'm usually stretching material out lengthwise. I've been wanting to order a diagonal hammer too. See, I really love making my own tools. So I've put it on the list of projects that I have in store for the stream. So I have this long list, and I shove things around here and there. Like, this grill set was one of those things where I shoved this axe project a little bit further down the line so that we could do this. But yeah, I do. I have a list of projects that I want to get done. So right now, it's probably going to be like dead of winter to spring before I'm able to make a diagonal peen hammer. Short Apache Shark, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I'm Ray. I'm a blacksmith. I guess I've explained that I've been blacksmithing for about 10 years, but I took a 5-year break, or a 4-year break, and we've been back at it for about a year. So I'm a little bit rusty on some of the the techniques that I don't do a lot of, but we're learning, we're growing, and we're getting better as we go. Right now we are working on a set of grill tongs, the design of which is here on the board. I'm not sure if you guys can see it real well. I think maybe. But that's what we're up to today. Let me do another heat. Let's see if I can do this like straightaway area like this. We're not having as much luck, but it'll be all right. Let me move this so that it's not acting funny. All right, it's starting to thin out. So I have a question for you guys. And you guys probably don't really have an amazingly precise answer for me, but I'll still ask your opinion anyway. All right, so I like the thickness of this hinge that we're creating. So the goal is to kind of fold this whole piece in half because we're making a set of tongs, right? So I like the width of that because I think then it will last a good long time. But I also think that it might make it, because it is so thick, a little bit harder to click them together. So do you guys think I should continue thinning that out? Or do you think I should risk it? Let me know. What do you guys think? Hey, Jack! At the risk of aging myself, I started around 1999. Bug started in 2017, and Corwin started last summer. I would see how hard it is to move with your hands cold now, then make your decision from there. I think that's about that. I think that's probably a good, a good suggestion, Jack. I think I might do a little bit more thinning, and then I'll cool it down in the quench bucket, and then we'll see how hard it is to move it. That should be less than a 16th inch thick. Okay. You will have more leverage when bent, but it is entirely unmovable now. It will be no fun. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I want it to function very similarly to a spring swage, and I think it's still really, really thick for that purpose. But I also have never really made a spring swage. This is also made out of mild steel as opposed to anything springy. So, it is what it is. I guess I'm kind of experimenting. If the internet was what it was today back in 1999, I would have started back then in high school. I was in junior high in 1999. So I probably am a little bit young to start in 1999. But, it would have been nice to start blacksmithing a little bit earlier. Honestly, though, I think that what I really wish is that I had found Abana and the Abana affiliate so much earlier, because then I would have been able to learn directly from blacksmiths. And figuring things out on YouTube, I mean, it works. It works pretty well, but there's just something about learning directly from a blacksmith. You just learn things a lot faster, like directly from a teacher. So I honestly wish I had found Abana and its affiliates sooner. There was a bad kid that young at the club here once a couple months ago. Oh, there was a kid that young. Plus, wider is the less it will move to the side. That makes sense as well. So yeah, like I said, when I went to Quad State last weekend, there was a group of kids that were at the blacksmithing contest, and they were, the heat was 16 and younger, so everybody, there were like, I think there were 9 of them at the very least, and they were all 16 or younger, and they were competing to see who could make the most and the prettiest nails. So that was actually a pretty cool thing to see, watching kids that young blacksmithing, I've regretted never joining my local group. Not enough to join them, but enough to know I'm wrong in not doing so. Imagine what it was like in 1999 when you pretty much had Abana and Keep Junk website. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of internet back in the day, You kind of had to know somebody to get into the blacksmithing space. I mean, back in 2010, I had trouble getting into the blacksmithing space. There wasn't a lot of different, you couldn't just buy blacksmithing equipment, from Amazon. You kind of had to figure out where the community pockets were on the internet. And so I'm so glad that blacksmithing has become so much easier and more mainstream. And so while I normally am, I would say I'm not a big Forged in Fire fan, it has brought back interest in the skill and, the art. So I very much appreciate Forged in Fire for that alone, you know? Forged in Fire really brought a lot more eyes and products to the market. It did, man. It did. So I am so grateful for that show. I will tell you one day, once the ad is over, let me tell you about my experience with Discovery. Uh, yeah, I was almost on one of those shows. And the videos on the net were pretty much non-existent. Yeah, I mean, there was like, we had Dirty Smith and we had a couple other like smaller creators, and then we had Alex Steele, and that was about it back when I first started in 2010. So, I can't imagine how much harder it would have been in 1999. So like I said, we have an ad coming up here shortly once that's over. Like I said, I'll tell you, we'll do another heat, and then I will tell you guys about, or my story about how I was almost on Discovery Channel. So I do have a buddy who has been on Forged in Fire a couple of times. And then there's also like, there's this knife show where like these people who do knife cutting and like sword cutting, they have like they just do like the competitions where they go through the obstacle courses and doing all of the cuts or whatever on Discovery. This guy he had a sword featured on every season of that show. It was kind of a short-lived show though. Two guys from the group I'm a part of was on that show. Yeah, Tom Kinder is the smith, or I guess the bladesmith that I'm pretty good friends with. I met him at our local Society for Creative Anachronism group, and he's a really awesome bladesmith. So he was on that show, I think, once, maybe twice. I think on Forged in Fire, and then like I said, he had a blade on every season of their like knife out show or whatever that is. Oh, it looks like the ad is done already. So, back in, I don't know, it had to have been like 2012. I used to go, or I still go to the steel supplier in St. Louis, which is Shapiro Steel, or Shapiro Steel Supply, right? They're kind of a scrapyard. And so Discovery was trying to make a show on their scrapyard because they, they had such popular shows with that knife out show, and then the Forged in Fire. And that's a privately owned steel supply. And so they were looking to find a way to, get on Discovery Channel and have a reality show. And so my guys over there were like, Ray, we need you to come in here and be there so that we can show, because we want you, because you're one of our most interesting clients. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get there on time in order to see the guy, but I could have been on Discovery Channel. There could have been a show about my steel supplier, right? All right, let's do another heat. I don't know how, or if I would have wanted to be on the Discovery Channel. I mean, I guess I'm on, the internet now. All right. I still think it's a little bit too thick. I mean, you guys said a 16th of an inch. So let's get our tape measure and see how far I need to go. So I got my tape measure here. We'll tip this. And it looks like we're at about an 1/8 of an inch right now. So let's do a little bit more forging. See if we can't thin that out. And then we'll do those twisties. So yeah, I wasn't on TV, but you know, maybe I could have. Where am I? I'm starting to develop a little bit of scale on my anvil. So let's clean that off so it doesn't fly at me. Like those tongs, right? All right. So I don't know. I don't know how fun it would be to be on TV. I've been on TV a couple times, but like never, you know, prolonged periods. I think I did a couple segments on TV when I was in a play when I was in junior high. But it was like, you know, a minute and a half on the news, like the community events section. They just all they said was, you know, these are the stars of this play in the junior high, and you know, then I said hi and I smiled, and that was about it. So, you know, I've never really been on TV except for here on Twitch, you know. Munda Greener, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. Welcome, welcome. We are growing. I feel like we're growing pretty fast now. Faster than I expected. I've only really been streaming for about, well, a little less than a year. Because I mean, when I came back to start blacksmithing again, the thing that kept me going was being here on Twitch and streaming for you guys, and it keeps me motivated to keep coming back out here because I got really sick in 2020, and so doing this for a while, like for the first 6 months, it took a lot of effort. And I mean, it still does because I keep upping the ante, but it makes me feel great being out here. You know, I'll have a really bad breathing day and then I'll come out and I'll forge. By the time I'm done, I'm fine. I can breathe again. And I know that sounds really weird, you know, my lungs are what is the problem for me, but I come out and, you know, all of the smoke and dust and dirt, and I feel great at the end. I don't know. Maybe it's the adrenaline. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, all of you. Did I just miss somebody? Mary is dead. Thank you so much for your follow. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me. Let's do another heat. I don't trust air I can't see. I don't know about that. I do try to, you know, wear dust masks and breathing safety when it's appropriate. All right. Let's stick this over here, see if we can't. All right. I want to keep everything relatively straight and thin it down to a point where I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, I think we're working. I think it's working pretty darn well. I think I'm going to do one more forging heat, and then we're going to twist these handles. This one looks a little bit thicker, longer than that one. We'll see, we'll see. Maybe I move the hinge a little bit further in that one direction. So yeah, we're getting there. We're making a lovely hinge for our set of grill tongs here. Like I said, one side is a little bit longer than the other, so I want to shorten, or I want both of the handles to be the same length. So we might have to move the hinge a little bit over. I guess make it a little bit longer. We're not really moving it over, just longer. Eating into that handle material a little bit. I want to have a good amount of handle material, but I also want them to be even so that when we fold the tongs in half, the little grabby area will touch correctly, because we have to, the little handy area, the grabby area, the bit of the tongs, or if you will, needs to be able to touch in order to grab our steaks. Because, that's what we're grilling, right? We're grilling steaks. Maybe some hot dogs, maybe some burgers. I mean, So this is one of our 4-piece grill set. This is a steak turner. I'm not entirely sure that I'm convinced that steak turners are the best things available to turn steaks on the grill, but we made one for good measure. So we've got a hook on that end, and you hook the corner of the steak and you flip it over. Then we've got a grill fork, and the grill fork is great for when you want to see if you've got, if your steak is rare enough. You definitely don't want your meat to get too cooked. You got to get some pink in there. So this will help you make sure that you're not cooking it too much. And then we've got a spatula. This is our spatula for, when we're grilling burgers for the kids, right? We like the steaks, but, some kids, they're a little bit too young to appreciate a good thick steak. So now we're working on the top, Maybe we're going to grill some fish or something. That's what we're up to today. I'm getting low on water again. So at some point in the near future, I'm going to have to get some more. We're kind of running really low on Gatorade today. I think there's only 2 left, and they're both yellow. I don't like yellow Gatorade. It's kind of just like sour, and I don't know. I'm not a big yellow Gatorade fan. I like red and blue. But when I get the packs that have red and blue, I end up with the yellow too, One of these days, maybe I'll find a pack that only has red. I feel like there used to be packs in like the early 2000s where you only got one color, I loved drinking Gatorade when I'm out here in the shop, because it, when it's really hot out here, I start sweating and I start losing all of my salts and electrolytes, and, Gatorade tends to replace that. One of these days, though, maybe I'll get a sponsorship from someone else, and, I'll change my ways. I will put up the Gatorade. So, earlier I told you guys what my next 2 projects on the list are. The first one is a axe eye drift. and an axe eye drift, or this right here is a hammer eye drift. And the difference between a hammer eye drift and an axe eye drift is that a hammer eye drift is a oval shape and an axe eye drift is a teardrop shape. And what this tool is used for is opening the hole for the handle of a tool. So this one is specifically designed for hammers. And our next project, which we should be starting on Friday, will be an axe eye drift. And then after that, we are going to be making an axe. So those are our next two projects. If you guys think that those are okay projects, I've got a couple other ideas if you guys would rather not see those, but I think a lot of you guys are interested in seeing an axe actually finished. So let me know if you guys got any other ideas, or if those are okay projects. I was typing about a sponsorship when you said it. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Gatorade, but Gatorade, if you'd like to sponsor me, or I think, is it Coke that does Gatorade? If anybody wants to sponsor me, I'm taking sponsorships from corporations, right? I'll take that corporate money. Have you ever tried drawing over the edge of the anvil as opposed to the horn? A lot of people ask me that. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm lousy at it. I just, for whatever reason, the conceptual, I find it, I have trouble conceptualizing it. But I think that Jack sent me a video about it, and I've been watching it, and I think that I've got it down for the most part, but I have to actually put it into practice. So I will do that eventually. They get plenty of free advertising from them. Or yes, they do get plenty of free advertising from me. All right, we're gonna do another heat. But yeah, I know that it's a thing, and I probably should do it. But it's just so much easier to go over the horn. Sometimes my brains aren't, it just, I make things more difficult than they actually are, or that they should be. And it's kind of a weird thing, All right. Use that to my advantage a little bit. All right. So I think that's a pretty good. So I think on our next heat, I'm gonna do a little bit of, I keep claiming what I'm gonna do and then I just don't do it. I think what I'm actually gonna do is twist these now. And then we'll fold it and we'll see what happens, where we're at from there. So we're gonna start with that side, or with one side, I guess. And then we'll do the other side. Gotta start saying sports drink until they sponsor me. I know, right? Definitely. All right, now I'm out of water, so let's get some more. I drink a lot of water as well. Water is relatively cheap, Dang it. When I say dang it, people get really, like, concerned. And at this time, the dang it is that I dropped the lid to my drink cup into a big pile of dirt. A big pile of dirt. So I don't really want to use it anymore. So, you know what? I'm going to drink the water that's in here, and then I'm going to grab a sports drink. Because gross. Extra minerals. What size stock did I start with? I started with 5/8 inch stock, and that, for those of you who aren't in Imperial, that is 15.88 millimeters square stock, and then it was 16 inches long. So that was 40.64 centimeters in length. So when I was at Quad State this last weekend, I watched a whole bunch of people's demos for like really small scale stuff, and I realized that I use incredibly huge stock for what I try to do. Like, I spend so much time drawing out stock, and I don't have to do that. I need to start buying stock that's closer to the size that I want it in the end. And that it's just something that I don't know why I didn't realize before, but most of my instructors, like the people that I actually blacksmithed after, were large scale blacksmiths. So they were doing furniture and window grates and fences and things like that. And so they needed that large stock. And I just was like, oh, this is my standard stock. I'll just, buy that. And I've realized that maybe it would be a good idea to buy the stock for the project. It's those like little things that you just don't think about. Stupid little mistakes. So, I'm constantly learning things. I'm constantly growing as a blacksmith and as a content creator. So there is going to be a trip to the supply, the steel supplier in my near future. Let me change the angle on my camera. Oh, you know what? I do need to change the angle on my camera because I promised you guys I was going to spin this, or I guess not spin it, but like twist this piece of stock. All right, cool. So, those little things that you just don't think about until it becomes blaringly obvious. All right, let's twist this stock. 20-foot sticks of 3/8 inch round and 1/4 inch square, or round and 1/2 inch would probably get you by for a while. Yeah, it definitely would. And that's kind of like what I'm thinking about, you know. But yeah, I start with huge stock for what I do. And I need to like not do that. Let's move this over here. And you know what? I think I'm doing this backwards. That I did the other pieces. Now that I think about it, guys. You guys probably remember better than I do, though, too. All right, I'm going to heat this up one more time so that I can finish off this twist. Because I wasn't completely ready with it yet. I definitely need to finish that twist, or heat it up to finish that twist. I am going to do this real fast. Move that over there for the moment. Stay. There we go. That's a little better. I need to do at least another quarter turn so that I leave my little clicky handies, you know, the grabbers section, in the correct direction. Oh, I already did that. I already hit camera 1. Goodness gracious. I need to put this on my desk over here that I've got all my computer stuffies on so that I don't knock it off of here when I do my next round of turning. Remind me where that is if I lose it. You know how often I lose that. So, I think it actually looks pretty decent, like the twist. And I think once I spin it around and get the other side, I think that this is going to look really, really nice in the end. I might end up thinning out the hinge a little bit further, maybe, just to make sure that it's squeeze or like it squeezes easy enough. So right here I have a rawhide mallet, and this is actually made of, you know, the same rawhide that you give your dog, but it works beautifully for straightening out stock when it starts bending in weird ways. It won't mar your piece of steel, so it won't leave any hammer marks or anything like that. So it works beautifully when you are trying to do twists and things like that. Because if I were to use this hammer to straighten out my twist, I would start dinging the edges of the corners on that twist. So this saves me a lot of extra effort and work. Now that there's no risk of me actually meeting someone, you should have said, or you should have come said hi when you were at Sofa. Jack, did you go to Sofa? You didn't tell me you went to Sofa. I met a significant number of you guys. You know, I think more of the people that I met were from the YouTube than were from the stream, but I actually met a few people. I did not go, but I live nearby. Oh, okay. All right, Sandwich, have a great rest of your evening and sleep well. Man, I didn't know you lived near Quad State. If I'd have known, maybe I would have met you like for dinner or something, you know? We went to a pizza restaurant on Saturday night after the stream just to kind of get off site and relax a little bit. But I mean, we could have met up. That's why I waited until today. I'm turbo antisocial. All right. That's respectable. Definitely respectable. But yeah, I would have definitely gone out to dinner with anybody who was at or near Quad State, you know, at like a restaurant or something, you know, in a public place. I'm still a little bit gun shy about you guys coming to like my shop and like, you know, the stalkerishness a little bit, you know, but most of the time the blacksmithing community is so nice, and I feel so safe among other fellow blacksmiths that it's not that big of an issue, you know. 1,000% agree. Yeah, so it's like, as long as I'm in a nice public area, you know, a safe area, I'm up for it. You know, let me know if you guys know that I'm going to be in an area for a blacksmithing conference, you know, or if you're at that blacksmithing conference, shoot me a message on Discord. I check it relatively frequently. You know, we'll set something up in public. Hey, Bauhaus Goth. If you ever find yourself in central Iowa, definitely hit me up. I feel like the closest to central Iowa I tend to get these days is the Quad Cities, because that's where I grew up. So when I go up for like Christmas and stuff, I tend to go to the Quad Cities area, which is the area along the Mississippi River that Iowa and Illinois kind of meet. So that's usually, you know, where I'm at. Occasionally I'll go to Iowa City, but not frequently. All right, once this ad is over, we're going to do another attempt at this twist. I'll see if I can't get it to work for me. I think I want to use it this direction so that this little bump here doesn't get in my way. Alrighty. And then from there, we're going to flip it over and we're going to do the twist on the opposite side. And we shall see how well that works. Okay, ad's done. Let's do this. Blurg. Okay, cool. I have plenty of time here. Do. All right. So let's see if I can't, like, you know. Oh, wait, we were twisting this direction. Okay. All right, so I want this area right here to be lined up with this area right here. So I think that's as good as we're gonna get. Let's clean off some of the scale real fast and then we'll flip our stuffies. Maybe I will hammer it a little bit in this direction because a little bit, yeah, that should work. The smell of burning hair. That's the only issue with a rawhide mallet is that you always end up smelling, you know, burning hair. There we go. Bauhaus Goth, thank you so much for that. Thanks for coming back. But yeah, we're getting really close. Once we get this other side twisted up, then we're going to start working on the hinge area. So I want to kind of give it a C shape. So we're going to round it all the way out, kind of create, you know, fold it in half. But I want to create a nice C shape at the end of it. And we'll see. We'll see if we can make it work. Make it clicky clicky. I have a piece of firewood that I use for a rawhide mallet until I make a proper wooden mallet. See, wood works too. Oftentimes, when I have, like, I used to keep a stump in my shop for like the longest time, but when I moved to this location here, I couldn't take my stump with me because it was huge, super, super huge. When I had that stump, oftentimes I would use the rawhide mallet on the stump. And that was gorgeous because then I wasn't marring it on two different directions. Also, I was able to burn in the shape that I was looking to get. So I had one of my stumps had like a bowl groove in it, so it was similar to like a swage block, but a piece of wood. So it worked absolutely gorgeously. It was so convenient. Bubba137478, thank you so much for your follow. Thank you so much. Welcome to the community and welcome to the stream. You know what? I have no idea what time it is. We've been here for about an hour and 42 minutes. All right, so we got plenty of time left. We're going to finish this guy on time. I think I've dragged my feet long enough that, you know, I don't have to come up with an extra project, right? Sometimes I do that. I will tell you guys, sometimes I drag my feet a little bit so that I don't have to come up with an extra project. Not amazingly often. Hey, Mahalo. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. How was the rest of your weekend? Actually, you know what? I didn't ask any of you guys how you guys' weekend went. I just kind of, you know, was talking about my weekend, all like selfish like. How was you guys' weekends? Oh, water. It's right here. Like I said, I went to Quad State in Troy, Ohio, and that was a blacksmithing gathering. One of the biggest blacksmithing gatherings in the country. Oh my goodness. Wow. Thank you so much, Mahalo, for those gifted subs. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. Thank you, Mahalo. Thank you so much. Pretend it's still September. That's all right. Mine was decent. Did some forging and did my annual coming out of guitar retirement at church. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for that. The all of those subscriptions. I'll have to kind of update my end screen. But that also sounds like fun, Corwin. I play drums, but I don't play guitar. I also play keys. All the hype. We've got a level 2 hype train going. Holy moly. We don't get hype trains very often, but I always appreciate them when we get them. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Are we ready for our next twist? I think we are. Let's do that. So we're going to do a twist. Let's do the twist. I guess I got to dance after, you know, after I change the cameras back, right? You guys like seeing me do the twist? Oh, goodness. Let's keep my tummy from getting too hot. Overheated tummies is bad. Okay, here we go. We're going to go the same direction, I think. Probably. Oh, I flipped this upside down. Maybe we're going to go the same direction. Yeah, let's do this. And I need to flip these, maybe? I don't know. We're doing things. We're trying to make things work. Haha. I need to do another quarter turn, so we're going to heat that back up and we'll get that quarter turn in there so that all three of these flats line up. This flat with this flat with the flat on this end. And here we go. Back in the heat. All right. Ping worked on the new driveway, packed the perimeter with dirt and planted grass seed. Ooh. Mahalo also did some grass seeding. See, I need some grass. There's like a couple blank patches because I accidentally left. So I do a lot of archery, and we built an archery area in the backyard. Because I live on about a 2-acre area or section of land. So we made an archery range, and I let my target ended up on the ground, and I let it sit there for like a long time. So it kind of killed the grass under there. So there's a couple areas where I need to, to seed some grass. Right. I just finished my water. I only had half the thing of water that I was able to get out of the jug. So I need to like fill it more. I think I might have gotten distracted. So I need to grab a Gatorade real fast. So I will be right back, guys. Give me 1 second. Yellow. This is not even a full one. Where's the last full one? Is there not a full one? Well, I guess I'm drinking a partial yellow that's left in the fridge. At least I don't have to drink the whole thing, right? Oh, wow. Ping also does archery and has a range. We did it! Choo choo! Wow, you got Gatorade goblins. I do have Gatorade goblins stealing my stash. So, yeah. I don't know if I started drinking this one or if the butler did. But we took most of our Gatorade to Quad State with us. And so I drank so much Gatorade while I was at Quad State. It was really warm though, so I needed it. I definitely needed it. All right. So we've got one more like quarter turn left that I need to do on this guy, and then we're going to start working on the hinge. This is also the time or when I start working on the hinge, this is also the time where I might have to start up the big forge, because once I fold these in half, it's going to be very difficult to get them into the mailbox because the mailbox is so small. So we'll see what we can do. Ahem, sports drink. Yes, you're right, Mahala. You're right, Corwin. I do need to call it sports drink because, they haven't earned the right for me to advertise to them, right? No more free advertisement. Except I'm going to forget because I always do. That's all right, though. Okay. It's just what I do, guys. It's just what I do. Forget. Let's see about this way. There we go. Now we've got a nice quarter turn. The goal was to get this flat lined up with this flat with this flat. So that is exactly what I want to see. Let's take some of the scale off of here. That always happens with our twists. Ow. And now we're going to start working on the hinge. These are going to start turning into some tongs now. We've got this really long, like thing, I guess, and now we're going to turn it into some tongs. So let's heat up that center area. Gotta invent a smithy slushy and patent it. Maybe. Maybe I do. So I think Alex Steele has a sports drink that he's been shilling recently. It's like, I don't even remember what it's called. But yeah, there's a lot of sports drinks that have been kind of floating around. So I don't know, maybe one of them will pick me up someday. Stay away. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I am so glad that you've joined us today. We're a small community, but we are quickly growing. These can, I guess they're gonna hang out here anyway. And this is gonna hang out over here. Back in its space, because, you know, everything has its space and everything in its space, right? I bid on a Peter Wright anvil and a post vise, but I didn't win either one. Wow. That would have been a great find, though. You know, a Peter Wright post vise and anvil. Peter Wright is one of the older pattern anvils, and they're very coveted. So oftentimes they're very expensive. But it would have been great to have it. Maybe you'll find another one. Hopefully the person who did win that bid, you know, gets some really good use out of it. Scale and borax flavor, yes. Yes, definitely. So my anvil is a hay button anvil. It's their regular pattern. Give me a moment. Even though my anvil kind of looks a little bit odd, and the reason it looks odd is because the plate is broken off of that center area. This is something that often happens to hay button anvils. I have seen so many of this particular style of anvil with broken off faces. It still works absolutely beautifully. It's got a lot of rebound, you know. It's got a decent amount, you know. So I still use it. I do have another anvil that's out in the carport where we normally do our coal forge demos. But that one's a cast iron Harbor Freight special from the 90s. It's not quite as good. It does have really crisp corners, unlike this guy, but I just don't like using it as often. I have a 116-pound Peter Wright. Still unsure what brand my post vise is, though. And I think they said it was 126 pounds on that Peter Wright. That's that's about the same size as my anvil. It's 127-ish pounds. It's I love this weight. It's not too heavy, but you know, it's a good weight for normal usage. I would like eventually to get a higher poundage anvil, but they're so expensive. I just kind of gotta save my pennies and prioritize which is my next acquisition. Um, so yeah. And right now, my acquisitions are, you know, propane for the shop, so I can keep on keeping on. Speaking of propane, this week's propane sponsor is uh, your name here. If you would like to sponsor a propane tank, my KoFi is probably the best way to do that. Donate $25 to my KoFi, and I will put your name here, and I will give you a big old spotlight. Um, we did not get a propane sponsor for this week, but that is all right because the butler is very happy to help us out with the propane. So, yeah, we are continuing on with our propane and our streaming. To be clear, they didn't say it was a Peter Wright post vice, just that it was one in the local auction. Oh, okay, okay. So it was a post vice. Oh, I mean, any post vice is good. I don't know what my post vice is. Like the brand. Some of them actually are labeled with the brand of the post vice. Mine is not. But Peter Wright did do a line of post vices. Vulcan has also done a line of post vices. But yeah, there are lots of them out there. They are such a convenient tool. That's probably the next tool that I would go for after you're happy with your anvil, hammer, and forge setup. They're so convenient because you can hammer right down on that leg. It transfers all of that force off of what you've bolted the post vise to and into the floor. So yes, yes, post vise. Okay, I need to move our camera. The reason I need to move our camera is so that whoops, what am I tripping on? Stuff. The cord, the cable of my camera is what I'm losing. Okay. We're gonna go back. Oh wait, before I do that, I need to like focus the camera. You know what? I think I might actually, instead of putting it over there, I'll probably put it over here because we're gonna start this curl on the edge of the anvil, and then we're gonna go over to the horn. So let's focus on that. That way we've got everything in the frame. Everything, everything. Okay. Let's see if we can make this work. Oh, wow, it's already starting to bend. Look at that. Goodness gracious. Oh, wow. Give me half a second here. I got to be a little bit on the careful side because I don't want to like, I don't want to break this thing. All right, so that's what we've got so far. Let me show you guys that. So I think I'm going to attempt to use the mailbox and see if I can't heat this up in the opening of the forge. It may or may not work as well as I want it to. I came in and heard we are breaking things. We might be breaking things. I haven't decided yet, you know. Uh, so I've made this really thin hinge, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to, or it started bending really, really quickly. So as it's because it's really thin, if I move it more than it's going to allow, then it will break. I just don't want to unbend it and bend it, if that makes sense. Bluesy, welcome to the stream. You say you're good at breaking things. Well, so am I. I am super good at breaking things. We're going to try very hard not to break this. But what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to make a hinge for our grill tops. So right now it's just a U, and I want to kind of decorate it a little bit, give it a little bit more of a rounded shape. So I might actually toss this in here like so. So this right here is a bending bar, and we might be able to get a nice rounded area with it. So we'll see what I can do with that. Farmers are specialists in breaking things. Are they? All right, let's see. What do I got? It's a little bit too I don't know. I'm not entirely sure like how I want to say that. Skinny? So I need to shove this side. It's also not quite. All right, so if you look at this right now, we're a little bit lopsided. So I need to shove this side down because this side's a little bit too long right now. So let's see if we can't do that next. We are currently in the process of kind of tweaking this guy from here on. Engineers at work break stuff, so they have to fix it. Job security. We break horseshoes and the tools we connect to the horses. I mean, that seems about par for the course. So we've got a nice set of tongs going there, but like I said, we kind of got to tweak them a little bit. I think I was right when I said that I probably have one side of the handle is a little bit longer than the other. So we might, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do about that, but I might be able to fix it a little bit. So we've got an ad coming on here shortly. Once that ad is complete, I will do our next heat. But I want to make sure that there's a good amount of heat in that hinge. Since it's so thin, I want to make sure that it doesn't break on us. The thinner a piece of steel is and the cooler it is, you risk cold shuts. And that's just like a rip in the steel or a breakage. I did a stupid thing with a roll of fencing today. It's not exactly broken, but it's pretty messed up. Give us some baling twine and pliers and hammers, and we can fix just about anything. How about duct tape and WD-40? Can you guys do anything with that? Those are a couple of my favorite tools for fixing things. So I think we're going to do all right, but I also think that maybe I want to mess around with the grabber section of this, make sure that I kind of bend them inward so that they kind of touch a little bit. It depends on what it is. Gorilla tape works better for some things. Oh, does it? I think Gorilla tape, see, my favorite kind of tape is called gaffer's tape. And it is used in the film industry by gaffers. And a gaffer is a person that deals specifically with lighting. And that tape is absolutely amazing. Like, it looks like duct tape because it's got that cloth backing, but you can actually peel up gaffer's tape. It holds very, very like tightly, but it also allows you to rip it up so that you don't have to it doesn't get stuck with all the goo and stuff that duct tape tends to give you or leave. Gaff tape is fantastic. It is. I also love gaff tape. It is my favorite kind of tape. It's kind of on the expensive side, though. Yes, it is kind of expensive. See, I have the advantage that my partner, the butler, gets free gaff tape at work, and they don't miss it if it gets lost in the car. We don't steal it, you know, but occasionally we'll use a couple feet here and there um, if we really need to. But nothing like super We also have bought some in the past, you know. That's why I say baling twine and hammers and pliers. It is super useful. Super useful. But yeah, I love gaff tape. I started using it when I was also in the industry, but I am less in the industry now than I used to be. Used to be baling wire. Yeah, baling wire is good. I like to use baling wire to make links for chains, small ones like chainmail and things like that. All right, let's do another heat. See if we can't do this. Woo! Still a little bit. Woo! Be careful, Ray. Be careful. All right. One more heat on this area right here, just to kind of fix it up, make it, there's a little bit of a flat there. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to kind of bend this section in on both sides a little bit. Oh, we're having some issues because it's getting hard to stick it in there. I missed a bunch. Rip Prime Gaming. Oh, they have both around here. Most people switch to using twine. Depends a bit for what to make round bales. Twine is better. Yeah. Is something going on with Prime Gaming? I've been a little bit out of the loop over the weekend. but I haven't looked into it recently. But yeah, I really love baling wire and twine. I have rolls of twine that I have used in the past to like tie things together and stuff. But oftentimes, I end up using the baling wire more. You know, metal wire. Does it make a big difference what type of steel you use as to how springy it is? Yes, it does. Um, if you're really set on getting springiness in your steel, what you really need is spring steel, which is a high carbon steel. This right here is mild steel. It's the same that you would use for construction. Um, so it's not going to be nearly as springy or stay as springy, but it'll be springing enough for our purposes. Spring steel is much easier to get it to spring back into its original shape, whereas after a while, mild steel will just stay in the closed position. So these are kind of, they'll last for a while, but not nearly as long as a spring steel would. This mild steel is a low carbon steel. Yeah, they announced they discontinued Prime Gaming. All the previous benefits will continue to Prime members, but it won't be called Prime Gaming. Ah, so the monthly Twitch sub is still there. That's good. If the benefits are still there, anyway. All right. Kind of a little bit awkward, but I think they'll work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this way. And we're going to put one side in, and we're going to kind of bend these so that it'll bend these inward so that they'll actually close. Not the prettiest set I've ever seen, but this is our first time making them, so better than nothing, right? Oh, I totally forgot to change my my camera. Albert20, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. Let's get hammered, yeah. Except maybe less for me with the alcohol, right? We are drinking lovely or yellow Gatorade. Not my favorite, but it is what it is. It gives me lots of salts and electrolytes that I need while I'm sweating like this. So what I'm trying to do is kind of bend in the tong like little flappy pingy things so that they close a little bit easier. Looks like they just re-rolling Prime into Luna, so it will probably be called Lunatic Gaming. Luna Gaming or Lunatic Gaming. I don't know. We'll see. I know there's a lot of companies that are kind of restructuring recently, so we shall see what happens. We always use twine for square bales, sometimes the black synthetic, but mostly regular twine. I used to use I never really used a lot of twine. Like I said, it was mostly for tying stuff together. So I used to actually make Christmas ornaments where I would make little paper things and we'd hang them on the tree with twine. That was most of my experience. And like I said, we tied things together with twine, Well, yeah. All right, let's do another heat. So I'm going to try and pull this out of the forge. And we're going to go. Let's see. Want it to be a little bit more smooth of a transition than that. Maybe we'll play with it a little bit more, but I wanna mess with the other side a little bit first. So we're gonna turn this over and we're gonna put those in, and we'll see if we can't get them to like play. Play nice. More smacking, yeah. More smacking. Paleontologist Sava. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream and welcome to the community. Welcome, welcome. We're getting a lot of follows today. We've gotten a lot of new people. So welcome in new friends. I stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 2:30 Eastern Standard U.S. time to somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5:30-ish Eastern Standard Time. So that in about 2.5 hours to 3 hours sometimes increments. On Monday, I had to skip because we were at a blacksmithing conference all weekend and I was still recovering. So thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. And Johnny Claxon, thank you so much for this follow, or for that follow. Poco Fishki, thank you also. Welcome to the stream. Wow, we are getting so many new followers today. Thank you guys so much. So many new people. Growing. That's so exciting for me. It makes me so happy that we're growing so well. Hi, I'm from France. Oh, awesome. Welcome. We have lots of Europeans here in chat in the community. We've got some people from Belgium, from the Netherlands. We've got a few people from England and several other areas of Europe. So welcome to the stream. You should fit right in, I hope. Thank you for the statue. I like to thank everyone I meet from France for the statue. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty. It was a great gift. I think it's beautiful. Especially, I love that the copper itself, but I love the patina that has happened to it as well. So, yeah, it's such a great statue, you know? All right, let's do another heat. We're getting really close on this project. Really close. We're going to take this over here and I'm going to kind of move it a little bit so they kind of touch. I don't want them to touch immediately, so maybe we'll open them up a little bit further. Now I'm all like treating them like actual, like tongs. So maybe we'll have to open them up a little bit. Maybe I don't want them to be that way. All right. I'm going to put this guy in here, in the forge right there. And then I'm going to straighten him out just a little bit. We're getting quite a bit of springiness, so that's not bad. I was a little worried about that. A good follow-up to the Eiffel Tower for sure. A lot of stairs. If you want to go on, don't wait until you get too old. I've never actually been to New York. I have, or my siblings have gone to New York, but I've never made it there. Most of my travel has been like within, the South and the Midwest area. We went down to Alabama. I've been to Louisiana, to Texas, Oklahoma, those areas, but I've never really gone to either of the coasts. And it is my dream to do a lot more travel, especially now that we've been going to so many blacksmithing conferences. It is my dream to get to one in every state, eventually. It'll probably take us a while, but, it's a nice goal to have, right? Alrighty. Like I said, I think I'm going to straighten this out a little bit. I kind of curved them both too much. So I think that I'm going to straighten them back out, and then we'll probably, be done for the most part. Hawaii, known for lots of blacksmithing? I mean, probably not, but you never know, right? You never know. Also, I don't think that Alaska is amazingly known for its blacksmithing community, but maybe I should limit it to the continental U.S. Volcano Forge, maybe. It'd be cool. All right, let's do another heat and see if we can't straighten this out a bit. All right, so one side is longer than the other. That's definitely something that I would rather have addressed before I folded this in half. But yeah. Can I manage to do it? I mean, maybe. I think that if I took this section right here and kind of squished it in further, that would, well, you know what? That doesn't work either. Because that's going to make it even longer. All right, well, I think this is it for now. Not the best piece in the set, but it's, it's a design, and it was my first attempt. So not too bad. Cut the long end. I mean, I could. We might do some stuff to it. This seems like the perfect tool to cook my merengues. Yeah. So they are actually supposed to be grill tongs. So you're supposed to be able to pick up your chicken or your steak and flip it over with them. So that was the design. Like I said, my first time, it didn't go perfect, but, it's something, right? So all of these pieces for our grill set. Not too bad. Not too bad. So yeah, we have completed that project for the moment. There's a couple things I could probably do to fix these, but I think that involves cutting the neck out of this and like bringing that side back a little bit, rewelding it. Probably not going to do that on stream, but you know, there you have it. One of my friends have an old forge in his house, French countryside, and we only barbecue in it. Yes, more welding practice. Yeah, you could do some barbecuing in a forge if you wanted to. I know a lot of people kind of cook in their forge. I do it less often because you know I don't like coal in my forge or in my food, but you know. All right. Oh, we've got a raid. Oh, I'm about to end the stream, but thank you so much for that raid. Welcome in. And so we just finished up working on our grill tongs. They're still a little bit on the hot side, so let's kind of cool those down real fast. We can show these to you or show these off before I end the stream. So I'm Ray. I am a blacksmith, and these are still a little on the hot side. Not so hot that they're burning me, but you know, a little on the warm side. All right, there we go. Hey, look at that. Clicky, clicky. Clicky, clicky. This is exactly what I wanted them for. I wanted to be able to like clicky, clicky them. So this is a set of grill tongs that we made. We just finished those up. I just quenched them off. My name is Ray. I am a blacksmith. I stream from 2:30 p.m. to or like Eastern Standard Time for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And here on Twitch. Welcome to the stream. I apologize for, you know, the fact that I'm probably going to be raiding off here shortly. But yes, thank you so much for joining the stream, and you are welcome to join the community here. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I will be back on Friday. We will be starting a brand new project, and that will be a axe eye drift. That is for making the eye hole of an axe. So you've got your hammer and there's the eye. This is what the hole is called, an eye. And that's where you put the handle. So we are making an axe eye drift. The difference between a hammer eye and an axe eye is that the hammer eye is an oval and the axe eye is a teardrop shape. So that's the difference there. But yes, thank you so much for joining me. And JMac Creations, thank you so much for that follow. Empress Freya, thank you guys so much for that follow. No need to apologize. I appreciate the warm welcome. We went from some smithing in Elder Scrolls Online to smithing in real life. Yeah. So I'm here for, 3 days a week, and, you are always welcome to come back later on. Next time, I'm streaming. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I will also be raiding off because I'm getting kind of tired and I have to take a shower because I am sweating so bad out here. Still kind of cool or warm today. This is a dope smith situation you got. Thanks. Yeah. So we've got anvils, we got 2 forges, I've got a press over here. Yeah. But yes, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Welcome, welcome. We are about to raid off. And so I always take suggestions for who to raid if there's anybody you guys want to see. Otherwise, we'll find some friends or some new people. Let's see. Who else do we got around? Lots and lots. Who do we got? Evening, Corwin. Thanks for joining us. All right, so I think that we are going to go and visit J.K. Knudsen. He's working on his bike again. Right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will be back in the shop on Friday. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you later. Bye.